Hi everyone, this is Troy Barmore from Stridewise.com, here to talk to you about the Grant Stone Diesel Boot. The cult favorite boot and shoe maker Grant Stone has been making high quality leather boots since 2016. And initially, the conversation surrounding the brand was one of inquiry. Is Grant Stone worth it? Is it really possible for Grant Stone to produce Alden quality boots for such a reasonable price? And more to the point, produce such quality out of China? Checking any boot forum or the R Goodyear Welt subreddit will generally put the conversation to rest. Grant Stone makes very, very good stuff. Now, we've talked about Grant Stone a few times at Stridewise, and we actually have reviewed the Diesel boots a few years back. Now, that review needs a little bit of an update. So today, it's available in different leathers, and to be honest, we're a lot better at boot reviews now. So the Diesel boot is the core boot in Grant Stone's collection. It's a classic plain toe service style boot with clean lines and a handsome silhouette. The profile of the toe box is pretty slim, which is to say it doesn't have the same sort of like tall, rounded toe box that you usually find with some of the more prominent heritage boots. You know, think the Red Wing Blacksmith or Wolverine's 1000 Mile, though between the two, I would say this is the profile of the Diesel is definitely closer to to that of the Wolverine 1000 Mile in terms of the aesthetic. Stylistically, the Diesel is it's a curious boot, you know, because of that slimmer profile of the toe box. It has a dressy quality to it, especially in the Chromexcel leather options, which we'll get into those a little bit in just a moment here. But this dressiness, you know, is in slight opposition to the Vegtan 360-degree storm welt that you see on here. Despite being a great feature for water resistance and the ability to resole the boot, that welt brings a little bit more of a rugged aesthetic that is, you know, it's not something that everybody is gonna love, especially in a little bit more of a dressy, kind of boot. So I would say overall, this boot falls into more of the smart casual category. Now the Diesel boot is manufactured by Grant Stone in their factory in Xiamen, small island in southeastern China. A point that is brought up almost every single time you mention Grant Stone anywhere online. It almost seems like before you even have a chance to talk about, the leather or how it's made, everyone jumps in with, but it's made in China. Like that's gonna derail the entire conversation. But the fact that the boot is made in China is not something that Grant Stone shies away from, nor is it something that they should. In interviews that we've actually done with founder Wyatt Gilmore, it actually feels like a point of pride because of his familial connection to this specific factory. You see, once upon a time, Wyatt's father worked for Alden and then branched out into other, avenues of the boot and shoe world, which is where he came to be affiliated with this factory, which is how Wyatt was introduced to them in the first place. The simple fact of the matter is that a product's country of origin in and of itself is not a metric for quality or value anymore. Quality goods can be made anywhere if they're made by passionate, talented people, and poor quality goods can be made anywhere if they're made by people who are trying to cut corners or simply don't care. Talking about the leather and construction, the Diesel boot comes in a myriad of different colors and leather options, including vegetable tan, suede, waxed leathers, and even now a few exotic leathers as well, and at least half a dozen different Chromexcel variations. Some of those exotic ones are gonna be, kangaroo, for example, which is really cool and kind of change seasonally. The Crimson Chromexcel is about 2 millimeters thick and is absolutely beautiful as one might expect. Depending on the lighting, the crimson color is more or less noticeable, but never really strays all the way into that oxblood range as some pictures online might make you think. And unlike the navy, dune, or walnut Chromexcels, the welt and leather midsole are a lighter color, which gives an interesting contrast, but definitely emphasizes that storm welt, which again, some people are gonna love that, some people aren't gonna love that so much. Kind of depends on your tastes. Overall, the construction is pretty solid. The stitching is even throughout, with only a few small stray threads here and there when they first arrived. Again, nothing that a lighter can't take care of pretty quickly. The grain of the leather is consistent throughout and doesn't wrinkle or crease too easily, especially if you take care of them and use shoe trees when you're not wearing them. Like all Chromexcel, they scratch pretty easily, which you can see here, but with some proper care and conditioning, those clean up really nicely and look all the better for the wear. With a very wide mouth, and opening of the boot here with the brass speed hooks. The boot is very easy to get on and off. However, the top of the boot closes at this kind of strange angle, making it either so loose that the laces come undone really easily, or so tight that it kind of pinches your ankle, especially when it's new and you're first breaking it in. Inside the boot is a thin, supple layer of vegetable tan leather. Not everybody likes or is a fan of leather-lined boots because it can make them a little less breathable and sometimes doesn't grip the heel quite as well. But in this case, I think it provides a nice level of finishing and gives it just that little extra touch of luxury. So it's actually something that I really liked. It's also worth remembering that it adds a considerable amount of extra labor to the boot's creation, helping to justify that price tag over, say, something like Red Wing's similarly priced unlined boots. Like the welt and the lining, the insole and midsole are both made from vegetable tanned leather with a cork filler and a steel shank. The heel and the outsole are both Grant Stone's own micro-studded rubber, and it is supposedly comparable to Day-Night, but it does seem to be a little bit harder underfoot by comparison in my experience. The only sign of real, proper corner cutting here involves the heel and the counter cover. While the heel counter itself is a substantial piece of veg tanned leather, which is great, the counter cover itself is really just there for looks. You see, typically a heel counter cover is placed as an additional piece of leather on the outside of the boot to further reinforce that heel portion of the boot. In this case, the counter cover is stitched onto the upper and only covers the counter itself. So if you take this off, you're gonna just have a hole in the side of your boot, if that makes sense. It's a little bit sneaky and allows the company to use smaller pieces of leather throughout, which also cuts down on the price a little bit. But despite that minor nitpick, all in all, it's a very tidy pair of boots with no major visual qualities or issues or defects or anything like that. I would even say if you were to go so far as to tell somebody that these boots were made in New England, you would very likely be believed without much question at all. Talking about comfort and sizing now, like its color options, the Diesel boots come in a very wide variety of sizes ranging from 6 to 13 with half sizes, which is awesome, and 3 width options, D, E, and triple E. I can't overstate how awesome it really is, nor how increasingly rare it is. Many young brands, especially those with direct-to-consumer sales models, offer very limited width options and usually don't offer half sizes at all. You wear a half size, go up a half size and enjoy your brand new clown shoes. No such rubbish here. Now, a lot of companies like to claim that their boots and shoes have no break-in period and are comfortable right from day one, and a lot of companies are also lying about that. But while Grant Stone doesn't make any of those claims outright, they could if they wanted to, because the Diesel boot was comfortable from day one, and apart from some of that stiffness at the opening, they really didn't put up a fight or cause any blisters, which is painfully rare and blissfully welcome feature of these boots. Now, moving on to price, at $360, the Diesel boot is not an inexpensive boot. But then again, relatively, it's also not a dreadfully expensive boot either. Apart from that heel counter cover trickery, no real corners have been cut in the quality or the details, in the manufacturing of this boot. Compared to other more established brand names at this price point, you kind of can't say the same. Going over some pros and cons now. In the pro category, the thick Crimson Chromexcel leather is just gorgeous. The 360-degree Goodyear storm welt is beautifully made. The stitching is awesome. It's nice and sturdy. The welt itself is actually vegetable tan leather and makes the boot much more water resistant, which is awesome. The solid midsole construction with leather, cork, and a steel shank means that you're getting proper boot making here. There's no foam in there or weird, corners being cut when it comes to the outsole and the comfort that comes with it. The elegant design is not too dressy, not too casual. It's a pretty versatile boot, so you're gonna be able to wear this, I think, in a lot of different situations and really get some good daily use out of these. The box that they come in, which I don't have with me, but rest assured, trust me, it's beautiful. The bag that it comes with has all this nice, material on the company. It actually even came with a little bottle opener shoe horn, which was just cute. I appreciate little details like that, especially at this price point. The leather lining inside of the boot is really soft and supple. Some people aren't super fond of leather linings, so that might be a con for some people. But for me, I think it's nice. I think it's luxurious and just lends to a general feeling of quality that you get with the diesel boot. Moving to the cons category, and this is a little bit of a weird one, but the angle of the opening of the boot is just kind of odd. Like, in order to get it to be really, nice and tight where the laces don't come off, you have to really lace it really tight, which, especially when they're new, ends up kind of pinching your ankles. And if you don't do that, then the laces just fall off. So I don't know what it is about the way that they have kind of constructed this shape up here, but it's just an awkward fit initially. Once you break it in, that definitely dissipates, but it's something worth noticing, worth noting rather. When the boots first arrived, there were a few loose threads here and there, nothing too big to complain about, nothing that, a lighter can't take care of. The other thing that really just irks me is the heel cap here. Now, as mentioned earlier, the heel cap here is sort of a faux heel cap. Normally that leather goes over, another piece of leather there, but this one, you're just covering that heel counter on the inside. Don't love that fact. Some people are gonna be harping on the fact that this is not a day-night micro-studded outsole. It's their own, proprietary one. It's not a huge deal for me personally, but it's something that should be noted. And from a stylistic standpoint, because it is that sort of more slim, trim kind of profile of the boot, you're not really gonna look right if you're wearing this with a baggier pair of jeans or a more casual outfit. Like, you definitely need a little bit more of a fitted jean in order to make these really look right, I think. Wrapping things up, Grant Stone makes great boots, plain and simple. They are not the least expensive boots out there, and they are nowhere near the most expensive out there. They sit comfortably into a category of folks who are either just getting into well-made Goodyear welted boots, or for those who want to buy something like that, but they're on a more reasonable budget. The fact that they are made in China honestly has no bearing on whether they are solid value, because, they are. The reality is, you'd be hard-pressed to find this level of quality and craftsmanship for less than $400 or $500 anywhere else. Anyone who is considering buying a nice new pair of boots for everyday wear owes it to themselves to put the diesel boot on their list. That was true the last time we reviewed them, and it's still true today. That does it for my review of the Grant Stone diesel boot. What do you guys think? Are you happy to see Chromexcel coming back to Grant Stone? Leave a comment below, and make sure to check back with us for more heritage boot and fall men's fashion wear reviews coming up.